Okay.
Can you guys hear anything in the background in mine?
Not in yours. Let me, it might be my AC actually.
No, it's not you. It's, I have someone repairing windows like in the back part of my house, and he was supposed to be done at 4 o'clock. And I didn't know if I needed to get up and tell him, you have to go away now, because I can hear his screwdriver thing, but I didn't know if you guys.
I can't, but I will warn you that the parakeets are in the same room with me, and they get excited every so often and want to
I have a
contribute.
giant Maine Coon right back there somewhere. Oh yeah, she's back there. So she's back there. She might, rarely, she might jump on the table behind me and come say hi, but probably not. She's rather sleep in the afternoons, so.
Okay.
No, my AC is so loud, I can't hear back other people's background noise over it. So no worries.
Okay.
Just gonna wait another minute or two for more people to fall in.
Okie dokie. And you'll keep track of time, right, Elizabeth?
Yes, yes. So 7:45, we go to Q&A.
Cool. Are you gonna let them know that at the beginning?
Yes.
Awesome.
Now, PC, how are you usually addressed? Do you go by PC?
Fine, yeah.
Okay.
You can call me Phyllis if you want to, but almost everyone calls me PC. Except my daughter, she calls me Phyllis, very like that. But Anne, do we have more others books? Are we contracted for more yet? Or are you just contemplating?
I'm contemplating.
Okay, gosh, hope we are contracted for more soon. I really, love-
Did you see the short story in the anthology Heroic Hearts?
oh, no. Oh, good. Yeah, who's it about?
It's called The Dark Ship. It's the others as pirates.
Okay, I have to get it. I will get it and read it.
Yeah, different. It takes
What's the
place
character?
in the Mediterranean Sea, so it's across the Atlantic. It's taking place in Cal Romano.
Oh, awesome.
And
Okay. Yeah.
so we have a new set of characters, and
Oh, great. Yay.
but there's a pony. There's still a pony.
Oh, good.
All right. Well, I think we're going to get started.
Okay.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Elizabeth. I'm a bookseller at Belmont Books. For those of you who don't know us, Belmont Books is an independent, locally owned bookstore in Belmont, Massachusetts, near Boston. Just want to go over a few things before we really start. First off, this is not the only event that we have coming up. We have several events just like this every month. I will provide a link to our events page in the chat so you can learn more about them if you're interested. And you can buy tonight's book on our website as well. We ship to all 50 states. So if you're in the US, no problem. We can send you a copy. How this event is structured tonight, once I introduce the authors in just a moment, I'll turn it over to them and they'll talk with each other until about 7:45, at which point I will come back on. We'll open it up to Q&A. Please type your questions in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen or your Zoom app. I will also check the chat. Feel free to leave comments throughout and even ask your questions throughout, but we will answer questions at approximately 7:45. Finally, before we begin, I want to introduce our lovely authors. So just a sec. PC Cast is a #1 New York Times and #1 USA Today bestselling author who has more than 20 million books in print over 40 countries. She's a proud member of the Oklahoma Writers Hall of Fame and is the author of the wildly popular House of Night series, as well as many other YA fantasy and paranormal romance books. PC spends her time between her beloved Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the Pacific Northwest. New York Times bestselling author Anne Bishop is a winner of the William L. Crawford Memorial Fantasy Award, presented by the International Association for the Fantastic in the Arts for the Black Jewels trilogy. She's the author of the novels of the Others series and the World of the Others series. And without further ado, I'd like to switch it over to our authors.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being
Hello.
here. Yay. I'm so excited to be in conversation with Anne because I've been such a huge fan for so many years. It's so nice to meet online like this. So thank you so much for being here, Anne. I appreciate you.
Well, this is great because Into the Mist is a kind of book that is so relevant right now in what we're seeing, what is going on in our world. And I found it fascinating in a whole lot of ways, without trying to go for spoilers. But one of the things that I found really interesting as the story just unfolds and opens is that you never actually know why. And there's no reason why this group of people, this group of women, would know why. They're far enough away from any kind of government.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is that, something happened and life as they know it is gone and the world as they know it has changed. And they have to figure out how to survive.
Yeah, that was actually a big battle with my publisher because my editor, my publisher kept like pressuring me to say where the bombs came from, why they came from wherever, what exactly they are. And I said, how and I'm prior service, I was active duty Air Force and was either in the Air Force or Air Force wife for for a couple decades. And I said, there's absolutely no way these group of teachers in rural Oregon are going to ever know why another country bombed us. And they won't know what the bombs are or were. And you do find out, I just finished the second book and the first draft of the second book. And we do find out in the second book that there is and this, in the first book by the end of it too, there's a magical element to to the apocalypse. And we find out in the second book that the earth herself knew the end of life as we know it was coming. The earth herself actually was looking, as you will know in your others books, the earth herself is looking forward to the end of how the earth had been treated, for the past many generations. So, but yeah, it didn't make any sense to me too. I mean, I know where I think they originated as I was writing it. But there's no way that how would a group of teachers in rural Oregon ever know? So that's just an element that's out there that I would like the audience, the readers, to be like, this is where I think they came from.
Well, because we're programmed as readers to have a lot of things explained to us. The first question was, well, where does it happen? Why and how? But then again, you realize the characters that you're following have no way or reason to know. And if you were part of this group, you know, short of being somebody who built bombs for as a hobby, you wouldn't know either.
And why do they
And it's
care?
all about survival.
Yeah, they wouldn't care unless the attacks were continuing, unless someone was invading us, someone was invading them. Why in the world would they even care? They are reacting. Sorry, I have a gnat that won't leave me alone. They're gonna, like you said, they're worried about survival. They have to find a place to be safe. They are concerned about nuclear fallout, but we pretty much know very quickly that it's not nuclear. And because, you know, there would be a lot of residual actions from that, or symptoms coming up with them with that. It's not nuclear, but they don't care. As long as they're not being attacked, they can't change it. And, you know, they have a lot, they have to like find food and shelter and stuff. They're
Yeah.
to sit around and ruminate about about who could have attacked America. That doesn't, or the world actually, because everything's just that would be nonsensical. I kept saying, no, not only do they not know, they couldn't know. And why would they care? So no,
Yeah. And at that point,
yeah, you get more information in book 2 about the Earth herself, but we never know where the bombs come from. They never would.
yeah. And well, I trying to balance with spoilers, but the green, what the mist does to the male gender is going, ooh, ooh, deserved, but ooh.
Real ooh. Yeah, it's real gross.
although the men who were really nice and helpful, it was like I was yelling with the characters, get in the truck, get in the truck.
Oh, hurry, get out. Yeah, Karen's over there wanting to bury people and pray over their bodies. And it's like, it's the apocalypse. We don't have time. Come on. Karen was a really interesting character for me to write. I originally intended, and I'm going to try not to do very many spoilers either, but I'll give you guys enough info so that you'll know when you come to the part, you'll be like, oh. Karen, I meant Karen to, there's a point fairly early in the book where a mother abandons her teenage daughter. She leaves her teenage daughter with my core group, and goes out on basically a suicide mission to find her husband. And at that point, I had outlined that Karen would go with her to, you know, as prayer support or whatever, she will feel called to do that or whatever. Yeah. And then then I wrote the scene the night before where my whole core group gets together in a hotel room where they're finding shelter, and they pass around a bottle of wine. They discover some new powers that they have from being exposed to the mist, and
which is really cool.
Yeah, I love that. I love, and there's more of those. So you see more of that in book 2. But when Karen spoke up and talked about how repressed her life has been, and seemed to kind of start acknowledging that and become more self-aware. Mm-hmm. She became a much more interesting and much more rounded character to me. And I decided, no, I'm not going to have her go. I'm not killing her off like that. And by the end of book 1, she was one of my very favorite characters. And in book 2, I just love her so much in book 2. This change that happens to her, she is a very typical Oklahoma, middle-aged, white, straight, conservative Christian. Very evangelical, very, oh, Jesus, oh, Lord, that kind of person. And I love her journey that opens her eyes to accepting others as they are, and eventually accepting who she truly is. And she's truly not as repressed as she's been forced to be her whole life. I really liked her.
Cool. Well, it's very good that we do get a sequel, because you ended with things and going, I would like to know more. So it was good that there is more.
You see him more, wink, wink, in the next book. You see him more in the next book. Yeah. There's more paganism in the second book, and there's more earth magic in the second book. I don't think I jumped the shark. I don't think it's too crazy. It's a little crazy though, but I'm talking to the woman who has ponies, fat little ponies be elemental creatures that can like fuck you up completely. So I don't think you're going to think it's very crazy at all there, Anne.
No.
It's funny that we talked about this a little bit before. Our two series, although mine Into the Mist and Out of the Dawn is just a duology, and the others, thankfully, is much longer than that. But they have similar themes about if you fuck around with the earth too much, retribution is going to happen. And especially those who are so nefarious about it and so entitled. And I love what happens to the entitled, nefarious people in your series. And I messed them up in my series too.
Well, it's cathartic to.
It is.
I mean, one of the reasons why we write stories and people read stories is that we want to take the journey. We want to take that scary journey into the dark forest where bad things happen and the villains are there, and you're faced with the things that you fear. But unless you're writing horror, true horror, my expectation as a reader is I will go into that dark forest with you, but some of the people that you have designated as the heroes better come out and win.
Yes.
I know that is the expectation, that you want them and need them to win.
Yeah, don't kill. I won't kill off all of them. You don't kill off very many. Why? Sorry, I'm having work done on that in my house. And so I have windows that are windowless, paneless right now. And so like first there was like a mosquito or a gnat, and now there's a fly just like, sorry, it's super distracting. No, you don't kill off, thankfully, I'm thinking back, you don't kill off a lot of your good guys. Some, I mean, God knows not that their lives are easy though. I mean, your blood prophets.
Oh, yeah.
That there's a shelf life on that, and that scares me for her. But I try to keep a core group of people that you're going to need to worry about at sometimes, really worry about often. But I like the good guys. I like the good guys to win, and I like most of the good guys to be alive too by the end.
And the ones who don't make it, it's a sacrifice that is. I mean, in the fourth book of the others, boy, I got yelled at a lot from all directions when Joe died, Joe Wolfgard.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah. And all I could say was, well, I cried writing it.
I do too. I sob. I usually, if I don't make myself laugh, if I don't scare myself, if I don't do something that I think is sexy, or if I don't make myself cry, I feel like I can't imagine writing a book that doesn't evoke all those emotions in me first and foremost. So when people yell at me about killing characters, I'm like, girl, I snot cried while I was doing it. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, is it took you 15 minutes to read it. It took me 3 days to write it.
Yeah.
You know?
And then I dreamed about it. And then I thought, well, is there any other way? No, it has to be. It has to be. It's just, yeah, I agonize. And sometimes, I don't know if do your characters just do stuff sometimes that completely surprise you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are times when I'm typing along and I'll type a sentence and go, And then I stop and think about, you
Yeah.
really said that? You just did that?
I didn't want
What's
you.
wrong with you?
Yeah, it happens to
But-
me a lot. And some of the deaths are like that too. Some of the deaths are like I knew, like in House of Night, I knew that Heath was going to have to probably die or something
Mhm.
drastic was going to have to happen to him. It's one of the big characters in House of Night. And then all of a sudden the scene's playing out in front of me. And as I'm writing it, I'm literally thinking, oh shit, he's gonna break Heath's neck. He's gonna snap his neck and throw him into the damn lagoon. And I was like, oh no. I was like, oh man, my readers are gonna kill me. But then I
Well,
did anyway.
it's sort of, it's like being in a wagon that someone else is pushing and they're rolling you towards the cliff. And you know it's coming,
Yeah.
it's coming. And you know that basically you're the one who's pushing the wagon, but you just go over that cliff.
Over the cliff. That's an excellent analogy. It's an excellent analogy. But that doesn't mean that the characters that we keep have like a really easy time. It's especially if we're writing things with apocalyptic themes. You know, it's hard. It would be unrealistic if we didn't scare our readers quite frequently and make them worry about our characters. Like the book before Crowbones, what's the name of the book before Crowbones? The one where Vicky,
The first Vicky book was Lake Silence. That's where we
Lake
meet
Silence.
Vicky.
And that's when she moves there and
Yeah.
her ex comes after her.
Yeah.
I was real worried about Vicky. Okay. I'm really glad that everything turned out the way it did, by the way. But you scared the crap out of me about Vicky. I was just, every page I was like,
Yeah. It had that, and particularly when all of his friends also come, and you've got them. And
as a survivor of sexual abuse, of rape,
Mhm.
I really feel a lot of empathy for Vicky, and I also feel a lot of empathy for how she freezes, and how when she's confronted by circumstances and sounds that she remembers from her abuse that trigger that, I completely empathize with that and with her. It was really well done, and also beautifully written and empathetic towards Vicky and towards what she survived and what she continues to survive. And you see how it really shadows her relationships, especially with men. And it's completely understandable. I have in book 2, in Out of the Dawn, the sequel to Into the Mist, I had a scene that I had thought about before I started writing book 1 that I knew I was going to have, and it deals with a rape, and it deals with the consequences of it in a matriarchal society. And I think every woman who reads that scene particularly, is going to do a little, it's going to be like, finally they don't just get their wrists slapped and, oh, let's not ruin their lives, that'd be too bad, that kind of thing. So I also like what happened to Vicky's abusers too. The others, man, the ancients, especially the really old ones, we're like, we're just gonna rip you up and pass around your body as food.
Oh yeah, I mean, the elders in the lake, and those were, for me, that was a blend of looking at piranha and piranha faces and their teeth, and going, okay, you put kind of that head on what would normally be thought of as a mermaid body, but more
scarier,
more severe, more, less sensual, sexual, and more like, I am a predator. This is what I do.
Apex predator in the water. That was awesome. Where was your inspiration for my fave for the elemental ponies?
have you ever seen the well, they weren't comics, but they were cartoons. They were cartoon books called Thelwell's Ponies. They were
No, they're little
very,
fat ponies.
pardon?
Are they little fat ponies?
Yeah. I mean, Thelwell's Ponies, I don't remember, they've been around for a long, long time, and I think they were British. And so you'd have the gymkhana, and you'd have all of these fat little ponies and all of these little kids going and doing their riding, and the ponies would toss them off and throw them off and bounce around.
Because
And,
ponies
and
are
then
horrible.
look of those fat little ponies with their fat little legs just bouncing around. And I thought, those are the ponies. And then, of course, when they turn into the elemental steeds, when they transform into their other form, they
Yeah.
are like gorgeous horses and with flowing and all of their attributes of thunder and lightning and blizzard and
Like wind, and I
avalanche.
can imagine like the manes going all oh, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that imagery, and I love that part. Yeah.
Because, and also because you can tell that they're not real ponies, because sometimes their coloring is not what we would expect of a pony. You know? So yeah, and I particularly liked it as they're getting around with Vicky, and you know the poem of fog coming in on little cat feet. No, it comes on clumpy pony hooves.
Hungry puppy hooves, yeah. Oh, looking for carrots, looking for carrots. I really like how careful they are with Vicky too. How, how they're all kind of, they're protective and they're gentle to her. I really like that. Vicky really needs that. She needs all the support from the surrounding to help her, completely heal from her trauma and her abuse. And it's so nice to see her and I also really like Vicky's responses, because it's not that she's like a scaredy girl and she's, hiding from the world. It's not that. She had a trauma and she was abused. So about this thing, she has PTSD about this one thing.
Yeah.
But man, she can see the creepiest, scariest shit. And Vicky's just like, oh yeah, no, don't, that's too much animal in the costume. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be more human looking for all these other humans. So it shows
that's too scary.
it's too scary. Let's say no to that. It's too scary. But it also shows, how truly courageous she is. And in her core being, it shows how courageous she is. That she's such an empathetic character. I really like her. Really like her.
And there's that part for me with Vicky that she's trying to build a new life, and she didn't actually know that Aggie was a crow until the whole eyeball thing.
Yeah.
So she's approaching like, I've got a runaway teenager, and it's okay. We're doing our stuff, and she's there, but because she was accepting, then the other kinds of Terra Indigene are listening. Okay, each one is a feeler. Vicky likes Aggie. Aggie likes Vicky.
Yep.
And when Vicky gets in trouble, the first thing Aggie does is you go to the Sanguinati, you go to the vampire who's a lawyer and the leader of the troops who's got fangs.
Yes.
You call them the troops.
Yeah.
And each one is more. And so
yeah, I like that a lot. I liked how they all rally, and it's a really good community. It's a really good community. I also really like how the attitude the others all have for children, for youth. And I think that's also why Vicky because they're teenagers, they're kids, they're young. And I like how they can, you are inferring, I think, that we all have a chance of being better, that we can grow into better human beings. And all the ancient ones, the elders and everyone, they might kind of sort of acknowledge that, even about the monkey man. Okay.
Yeah.
And that let's not put the sins of the fathers on the children. Let's see if maybe they can be better. I like all that.
Yeah, and most of, even for when Grimshaw is we first meet him and he's doing highway patrol and stuff, he acknowledges that you can die out there. You can die in an instant out there because the elders are watching.
Yeah.
But if you have a missing child and you let them kind of know that you're looking for a youngster, you could get some help, at least hints of where you're going, because it does matter to them.
Yeah.
Their young matter.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. I liked that a lot. Like, yeah, we have a lot of similar themes in your series and in this duology of mine.
Yeah.
All very earth-based, very fed up with what has been done to our earth, and a lot of those of us who populate it, who don't
Yeah.
want to abuse it and don't want to, don't feel entitled to it. Actually, that's how I started writing Into the Mist, was right in the spring, the first spring of the Rona, early 2020. I don't know about you, but I couldn't write for a while. There were several months where that video that happens in my head just stopped. It was gone. It scared the crap out of me too. And then an agent told me it's existential dread. Just give yourself time to acclimate to this new world that's going on here with us. And I did, and I still was not able to write. And then the Pacific Northwest was blanketed in wildfires and smoke. And here in Portland, we were very fortunate not to have fires here in the city. But there were weeks when the weather report said it was supposed to be 92. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, that one came through.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. The weather report said it was supposed to be 92, and it was like 67 when you walked outside. That's how much smoke covered. And we couldn't go anywhere because of the Rona and the wildfires, and we couldn't even get together because that was way before vaccinations. And I had to disappear. I wanted to disappear into a world. And I remembered why I had written the very first book that I got published. That's Divine by Mistake. I wrote it as an escape from a really bad marriage. And I remembered that as I was writing it, I was out of the world where I was in this shitty marriage, and I was in Partholon. And I was like, I wonder if that would work right now and get me to start writing again. So I'm going to write a book where I can escape. And I was like, I know, I'll write a PC apocalypse. I'll write my own version of an apocalypse where I can people it with familiar women that I really empathize with, teachers, because I was a teacher for 15 years from a whole family of teachers back from Oklahoma. And I'm going to set it here, not just within an hour of where I live at Timberline. And I love apocalyptic literature. I love it, love it, love it. But I infrequently find characters that I empathize with. Your series is one of the exceptions to that. And so I thought, I'm just going to write what I would want to read, and I'm going to handle this apocalypse myself. And then my video started going in my head again. So that's how I started. It sprang out all that. And of course, we were the Trump years. That's like, it's like freaking herpes. It's like, why don't you just go away and stay away? All that went into my like emotional makeup as I started writing that book. And sure enough, I was able to escape into it. And I was writing, the whole beginning of that book was I had to have towels rolled up and wet underneath door jambs. And I was boiling big pots of like cedar and mint and pine and lavender to make the air breathable in the house. You couldn't even go outside. You know, like it was completely, it was horrible. And I sat down there and was out in my own world instead of in the apocalypse I didn't want to be in. So that's, I created that. And then I created a way to have retribution happen on the people I felt like could put us in the position with the, you know, the really poor response to COVID and, you know, climate change. And you have a vagina, your rights are taken away from you, and everything that goes with that. So that was how that came into being.
For me, I was on a book tour in March of 2020, and
Ugh.
I did up to
I'm
two
sorry.
of them.
Can you guys hang on just 1 second and let me tell him he has to stop? Okay, so he doesn't, we don't keep getting interrupted. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. That was it. That was him putting the last thing in the window that he was replacing. So yeah. Okay. So you were on tour, March 2020.
And we knew that Seattle was canceled, and I flew into Portland. And by the time I reached Portland, my publicist had contacted me and said, the Portland signing is canceled. You've got a flight to go home the next morning, which was Friday the 13th.
I remember when you were going to be here because I was going to go to the signing. I remember that.
And so, you know, the country was kind of closing down behind me, and it was just a question of, can I get home? You know, am I going to be stuck in an airport? And I got home, had a couple of days to get the mail, you know, all of the held back mail, and get groceries in. And then we were in lockdown.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it was like, boom. So for me, instead of not being able to write, it was, I already had the idea of Crow Bones a little bit, and said, I need to write a story. And Vicki was the person that I could write, because it's a cozy mystery with fangs and claws. That's what I always think of.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Of the Lake Silence books. You know, this is a cozy mystery because it has the template that they're going to find, the amateur detectives are going to find a body or more than one.
Multiple
pieces of
bodies.
bodies.
That's your book. Yeah.
And then chaos ensues.
Mhm.
So, and there was just that feel of, I can do this. And Crow Bones just, I think, took on the mantle of all the things that we fear. And she was just the vision, you know, in my head of what Crow Bones is, of that, of something that looks human, but looks too human for anybody to be comfortable, but is also just savage.
Yeah.
And let them go, let them run with it. And I was also working on the details of what turns out it's kind of like a trilogy in the Black Jewels world, because it was Queen's Bargain, Queen's Weapons, and the one that's in production now is the Queen's Price. And I had the ideas, some of the ideas for that because they had been building. So for me, it was more like you put your head down and you just keep going
Mm.
for 2 years. But then when I handed in the Queen's Prize, that's when I've hit my threshold of,
Ah,
you know, like what's happening. And I think that's how I tend to respond to crisis anyway, is that you put your head down and you plow on because you have to get through it. And then once you get through it, then you start to fall apart. And so I've
Yeah.
been sitting there going, and playing now with newer story thoughts and
Ooh.
working on things in worlds that I haven't been in before,
Ooh,
which is, it's been a
that's
long time since
interesting.
I've done that.
Yeah.
And so those are starting to come in, and I still don't know where they're going yet. They're just such this, like this fragile little piece that's almost visible. I can almost hear them. And it's just taking shape. But for me, a lot of the emotion really went into it. I gave it all to the characters. I mean, they go to the wall for everything.
Yeah.
Um,
So
and
when
now,
you're thinking of, when you're looking at a new series, in a new world, do you just kind of open yourself up to ideas and just kind of percolate the ideas, or do you start researching something to, or do they both happen? How do you do that?
well, I've been told by friends who know me well that I'm a stealth researcher because the idea of research bothers me a lot. It feels like being in school where you have to learn, you have to remember the facts
Hmm.
so that you can put them down in a test and prove that you read the book. And that always bothers me because it leaves me very uncomfortable. For one thing, I don't have that kind of brain. That I see more in watercolor and images rather than factoids.
Mhm.
So I just read a lot and I look at pictures and I watch movies and I listen to music, and things start happening
Mhm.
in my brain of going, that's interesting. That's fun. That's really gross. I like that. You know?
Do you get, is the next step that you get a character and a character's voice?
A lot of times it depends. I started writing a story just because I felt like I needed to write something to keep the muscles limber.
Mhm.
And so I picked a character and a place, and she's got an occupation. And I said, I will just follow you and we'll see what happens. And so far I'm having a lot of fun with her. So with the new world, which is, yeah, you'd have to call it a new world because I don't know exactly where it is. It's got to be on an Earth somewhere, but it isn't. It isn't anything like Earth. This
Mm.
little city. Um, it was more thinking of having the visual of the place, and then going, who would live there? Who would live in this place? And then finding pictures. So I have various boards in my
I
working
like to
area.
do that too. I like to like get a bunch of visual images, stick them
Yeah,
around. Yeah.
and the names of characters and everything is pinned up as what I know so far, so that I can stare at it in the morning and go, do I know anything else about you yet? No? Okay.
Okay. Well then. Elizabeth, do we need to take our questions now?
Yes, yes, it is time.
Okay.
Perfect.
Just a second. I'm putting a very important link in the chat.
Awesome. Well, Anne, I like to research, and I think that's because I was a teacher. So I have a whole different relationship with research than you do, because I'm super comfortable with it because I taught for so many years. And
Mhm.
as I research, I make up new story. I like change. If I'm researching something in history, if I'm going to do fantasy, if I'm not doing anything historical, I immediately start rewriting it in my head. And when I start rewriting my head, I'm like, oh shit, there's a story. And then start making notes.
Okay, so question time.
Question time.
Okay, so the first few things in the Q&A box are comments. So I'll read them out to you. Coral says, love both of you ladies and the worlds you create. Please keep up the amazing work.
Hi, Coral.
Madeline says, the hotel scene is my absolute favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Jerry says, love the elementals.
Yay!
Yeah.
And then Coral asked if you could co-write with each other, hint, hint, what would that look like?
I think the body count would be very high. You know,
Yeah. And it might be both of us too.
it could be. No, I haven't killed any of my co-authors yet, but that could be because she's my daughter.
Wouldn't that just make it more likely?
No, because I do actually like her. So
Okay. Madeline asked, do you guys prefer writing real life settings or made up worlds?
Made up worlds, definitely.
I like to mush them together. I like to take a real place and then add a big layer of fantasy on it. So it's like, you know where you are, you know where this is, and then the rug gets like pulled out from beneath you because holy shit, there's a dragon, you know, or something like that.
And Rusty asks, what gets you excited when you're writing?
The end.
Oh,
When I come to the end, I get very excited. No, I like, there are those scenes. I don't know about you, Anne, but sometimes there's just this scene and I look forward to writing it because I usually get the beginning of a book and the end of a book and just a few scenes in the middle.
mhm.
And if I'm writing by myself, I'll do like a rough outline, but I let my characters do a lot of stuff on their own. And sometimes when I get to it, when I have it, it's those scenes that you can't wait to write that you've had for maybe 2 books or something, and you're finally there. I just wrote one of those scenes in Out of the Dawn, and it was this big old pagan planting scene with all my core women, and there's dancing and blood ritual and a lot of elemental stuff, and it was so much fun to write. And at the end, I was like, yeah, I like that. What about you, Anne?
For me, it's when 2 characters are. It's the give and take of dialogue between 2 characters that are friends, and they're about to get into trouble. It's just in the Black Jewels world, any scene that has Lucifer and Damon together, those I love to write because they're brothers and they just know each other, and what they say to each other is just so much fun to write. And it's like with Vicky, anything with Vicky, and when she deals with some of the scarier Terra Indogene in her part of the world, those I always look forward to because it can go sliding there, but there's a whole lot of stuff that I don't know when I start
Like the
that
book,
scene.
like when they came in, when the 5 of them come in to get the books.
To get the books, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was, I like,
And the fact that they are very powerful and very scary, and they're just conversing about, you know, is this a scary book? Well, it has bad humans in it. Yeah, those are pretty scary. Yeah. And
They could like rip her apart and then feed her to people, to not people, feed her to, you know, the bear and stuff like that.
and it's, but they're, you know, what they're doing is they're just discussing books. So
Yep.
those are fun.
Jerry asks, what characters do you wish you had more time for?
Well,
Oof.
I give all the characters as much time as they want in a story. So I hang out with them. In order to get to know characters, you have to hang out with them, even when you're not writing a scene.
Yeah.
So when I'm meeting new characters, one of the things I think about is if this person and I went to a coffee shop and we sat down and had coffee, what would they be thinking about? Particularly because most of them are not human, what would they be thinking about? You know, and how would they react and how would they look to this world? And you spend time listening to them talk. And I spend a lot of time with characters as I'm getting to know them before I ever really start writing their story.
Yeah, I call it percolating. It just, people ask frequently if I write every day. And at a certain point in a book, I do. After like about page 250 or so, I can't stay away from it and I write every single day. But before that, but that doesn't mean I'm not working. That's what I'm doing is the characters are talking to me. I'm not right. I do take notes. I have a journal next to my bed, and in that place between awake and asleep, I write. I force myself. I start like dreaming about the characters and I get dialogue and everything. And then I force myself to wake up and I write down the dialogue and I write down notes. But that's what happens early in books for me. And that's how I get to know them. So even though, let's say I didn't go down and write that day, I mean, down to my office because my office is on the bottom floor, not down to hell or anything like that. But even though I haven't technically, you know, I didn't light my candles, I didn't get on my tread desk and start walking and writing, but I still worked that day because they were talking to me and I was listening to what they were saying and I was taking notes. And who would I like to do more with? In book 2, Stella gets a lover. And I really like this guy, this character. And I did not have time or room in book 2 to really go into their relationship a lot. And I would like to follow their relationship more. But the book was already like 120,000 words, and that's over anyway what my contract said it was supposed to be. So I had to close it down. But I'd like that. Stella and I'm not going to say the guy's name, so you guys won't know.
Icarus asks, what's your favorite thing to do to clear a writer's block?
I don't really believe in them.
I know they exist.
I know people definitely are like writer's block. I think that a lot of times, and for some people I know they exist. I have a really good friend who was blocked for like 19 years.
Wow.
It's bad. But I think a lot of times writer's block is just another 2 words for I need to put my ass in that chair and really write. And it's hard. Chris and I always go, writing's hard. We whine back and forth at each other because writing is damn hard. And I think especially young writers or new writers, authors think that if it's not flowing, if it's not just coming to you, that, oh, I must have writer's block. And it's just hard. That's all. I even get to a place where I have to write through it. I think that's the answer to your question. I think you just keep writing. And sometimes it's just garbage, but that's okay because you can go back and fix it even if it's garbage. You can't fix what's not on paper or on computer.
For me, when I feel like there's writer's block, it's because of several things. One, I'm tired and I need sleep,
Hmm.
because if I don't get enough sleep, the brain just stops
Yeah,
working.
yeah.
Or you just need to refill the well and spend a day reading somebody else's stuff or watching movies, your favorite movies. Or my other cure is, especially at this time of year, you go out in the garden and you attack the weeds and just,
That's right.
yeah. And that usually gets things moving, because it for me, writer's block means it's not that the words are blocked, it's that my body and brain are blocked and need some TLC.
And also, I think people will, I think the writer sometimes is trying to force an action that's not really working, that the plot needs to be redone, or maybe some characterization needs to be redone. If
Yeah.
it's like, I think of it as like writing yourself into a corner. And when that happens, it's because I've screwed up. I didn't fully plot something out. I'm trying to make, often when it happens to me is I'm trying to make a character do something I want that character to do versus what's authentic for that character. And that
Yeah.
means I have to take a step back and hike in the woods, come back. And as I'm hiking, I'm thinking about it the whole time. Or I also really like weeding too. Weeding will do it too. And it just, when that happens, I think that, like Anne said, stepping away from it and giving yourself some grace. And I cannot write if I'm tired either. Cannot. I have to have between 8 and 9 hours of sleep every night, or my brain just.
Yep.
Okay. Rusty says, I have read every one of your books, PC, and love every story and character. Thank you.
I love you, Rusty.
He says, I still want to take you on a plane ride.
Ooh, okay.
And then Andrea asks, have you ever thought about writing a story where the villain is actually good at the end and the hero turns on their morals?
Yeah, I like a good anti-hero. Yeah, I've done it multiple times. Read my other world books. There's a Neferet there who really redeems herself by the end. Kelowna did. I think that antagonists can be really interesting when that happens, when you flip them around, but they have to also be redeemable. I mean, some of them just aren't, but I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, since a lot of my characters in my worlds are on the dark side anyway to start with, and they're the good guys, yeah, I'm kind of already playing in that sandbox.
Simon, wasn't it Simon? Simon's his name, Wolfgard?
Yeah.
Yeah, Simon was a really dark character. Simon is kind of dark, but I love Simon. I love Simon, but I mean, he's not cool with Meg, right? Simon and Meg. He's not cool with there. He doesn't want anything. No, he's like, no at the beginning, and he's a pretty dark, scary character. But even by the end of the first book, I loved him.
Well, and also in the Ephemera series, you have Sebastian, who is an incubus, and who lives in the den of iniquity, and that's what they do. They prowl. They provide sex through dreams and physical when people cross over to their territory. But he looks at humans as prey. This is what they do. And then he has to take up the mantle of fighting the good fight to save his part of the world.
Okay. Oh, okay. Jerry says, love your books, and I'm glad you could spend time with us. I hope you land in Minneapolis, Minnesota someday.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to know.
I like Minneapolis, St. Paul. Last time I toured, I think I was able to tour there. because I rode a bike all along the river and the bike path. I forced Kristen to do it with me. So
That sounds fun.
it was.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. Thank you to all of our attendees who've come and joined us for this really entertaining discussion. Just as a quick reminder, I've posted the links to our bookstore's event page, and also a purchase link for tonight's book.
And the book, you guys should have custom book plates from me, correct? To put in the
Okay,
book?
sure. I don't know specifically, but I'm sure we can.
I
make-
sent them, so.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, if anybody wants a book plate in theirs, there's a when you place an order on our website, you can specify in your notes if you want it. If you want the book plate, or yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate Belmont Books. Thank you so much, Anne. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for the many, many hours plus of enjoyment that you've given me from your wonderful worlds. Let there be
Well,
many.
it was a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to the sequel of Into the Mist.
I will make sure that you are sent a copy.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. This has been excellent.
Thank you, everyone, for coming too. We appreciate you.
All right, have a good night, y'all.
Thanks.
Thanks. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Okay.